So there's this myth that goes around every several years or so, and seeing a resurgence now, and we have to knock it down again. It's this idea that, oh, medieval peasants had it so much better than we did. They only worked a couple days a week and had half the year off and all this wonderful stuff. Not like us today who are ground under the boot of capitalism, yeah. People, it's stupid. Stop saying that. And I don't know why this just seems to come in waves, and it seems like here lately more and more of the socialist bread tube set has been saying this, but it comes around every several years and we have to smack it down. So this is an article from back in 2013 from Tim Morstall about this idea that, oh, they only had to work 150 days a year. And no, they didn't. Please stop being stupid. So, yes, the medieval peasant led a life of incredible leisure, had to work vastly less than we poor saps ground down under capitalism have to. It's entirely nonsense, of course. So they had anywhere from 8 weeks to half the year off, and they didn't work on Sundays, and the church was wonderful to them, and they entertained all sorts of, they had jugglers and sports, and it was all just big fun. And in fact, economist Juliet Shore found that during periods of particularly high wages, such as 14th century England, peasants might put in no more than 150 days a year. Wow, half the year off. Isn't that wonderful? What Shore, and others, for there are others who make the same claim, has done is looked at the labor service expected of the villein and then claimed that this was the total amount of work that they had to do. Nonsense. This work on the Lord's daemon was the rent payable for the peasant's own land to farm, something which rather added to his own workload, of course, that of farming his own land. So they're just looking, the Lord says, okay, if you want the privilege of working on my land, they were literal land lords, that you had to do this amount of work for this certain amount of time. That's what they're looking at, and they're claiming that this was the total amount that the peasants had to do. No, that was just for the privilege of having their own land. Well, not their own land, it was the Lord's land, but you know what I mean. Having permission to work the land. They still had to work it. They still had to do the farming and take care of the animals and everything else they were doing. This was on top of that. We might also point to the amount of household labor that had to be performed. Yarn had to be spun, cloth to be weaved. Cooking was over open fires, and that firewood had to be collected, bread baked, and so on. Yeah, so you want to cook something. You gotta gather the firewood. You've probably gathered it before into like a big pile outside, and then bring it in and light the fire, get it stoked, get it going. What do you do today? You turn the oven on. All of that was stuff that they had to do that we don't. So, and just all of the stuff like baking bread. If you've ever made your own bread, basically what you do is you take the day, and it just takes a day to, put all the ingredients together, mix them together, knead the dough, and all of that. What do you do now? You go to the store and you buy it. What's bread now? $1.50? Something like that. That's one. Even at minimum wage. What is that at minimum wage? I'm going to grab the calculator here. If we do the national minimum wage at $7.15 an hour. Even at minimum wage, a loaf of bread is 12 minutes of labor. Could a peasant get a loaf of bread in 12 minutes? I don't think so. I don't think so. And he mentions there was a recent report, rather exaggerated, but still, which claimed that in the 1930s, it took 65 hours of human labor a week to run a household. Today, it takes 3. 3. And things were worse back in medieval days. So yeah, it's a lot different when you want to wash your clothes. You gotta soap them up, get the soapy water done, scrub them out yourself, rinse them, wring them, and all that. What do now? You dump them in a washer, you put in some soap, turn it on. A little while later, you move it over to the dryer, turn it on. We have it so much easier. It is incredible. What do you want? Do you want someone to come hold your hand while you're doing it? Come on, just think about basically anything that they would have to do. Even like traveling to the market. Right? We hop in a car, less than 5 minutes, we're at the store. We buy stuff. It usually takes me like 10, 15 minutes to go get the stuff on my list and get through the checkout and then get home. Probably like half hour for the full trip. How long do you think it took the peasant to even get to the market? You're talking about a couple of hours by foot with a cart. And you got to go around the market because not everything is in one nice little place like our grocery stores. You got to go around all the different stalls and everything else they had there. And then make it home. It was basically an entire afternoon was going to the market, if not the entire day. So. And then there's the obvious point that these villeins and churls were animal-owning peasant farmers, and people who own animals just don't get 70 days off a year. You don't manage to go off and get pissed for a week and then expect to have live animals when you come back. We know about this today. If you have a dog and you want to go on a 2-week vacation, you got to figure out who's going to take care of the dog. Someone's got to come over, let the dog out, feed the dog, make sure it's water, or you take it to a boarder, or take it to a friend's house and they watch the dog for a couple of weeks. If you don't do that over your 2-week vacation, what do you have when you come back? You have a dead dog. Well, now think about the peasants. Where they have, whatever, pigs, chickens, everything else. They just can't leave them for 150 days or whatever it is they're saying. Or just a week or two or whatever. However long these supposed wonderful festivals that these peasants were all enjoying themselves at lasted for. Because when they came back, they'd have dead animals, and not even dead pets that they don't even really depend on. No, things they actually do depend on. The livestock. Hens for eggs and animals for slaughter, things like that. Yeah. It's that people aren't even thinking about this. If you sat down and thought about it for like 2 or 3 minutes, you'd figure this out. What has been done here is to mistake work in the market economy for all the work being done. A vast amount of a peasant's work is not in that market economy. That's why they're peasants and why they're poor. Then they've decided not to include that back-breaking labor done inside the household as labor. Yeah, that was the only market activity they had was working for their lord. They had everything else themselves. Oh, by the way, even if you're talking like high rents and everything like that, for a different video I was looking around, because Richard Wolff, I think it was Richard Wolff, or was it Robert Reich? One of them had said like, there is no county anywhere, no city, no place anywhere in the country where you can get a 2-bedroom for less than $1,200. I looked around here and I found them for $8. So I found 1-bedrooms for $600. Right? $600 a month for a 1-bedroom. So let's consider $600 at minimum wage. 7:15. That's 83 hours. Okay, just a little over 2 weeks. 2 weeks and like the first few hours on the next Monday. And that's your one-bedroom apartment. That's basically the same as these, medieval peasants working 150 days out of the year. But what are you getting? You're not just getting land. This isn't just land. You've got a whole apartment. It's built. You've got it there. It's got central heat and air. It's got, washer and dryers. If they're not in the apartment, then they've got a laundromat downstairs or somewhere. You don't have to go out and collect firewood. You don't have to, manage all these animals and livestock and everything else. You want to cook something, you just turn the oven on. Or not even that. If you want a cheap dinner and not work, you just go and buy one of the prepackaged things, throw it in the microwave. How do we not have it made compared to peasants? I mean, that's just ridiculous. And minimum wage. I mean, I'm seeing jobs that are being advertised around here. Starting pay at $13 an hour. So, I mean, basically nobody's working for minimum wage. So if we do $13 an hour, this starting pay in my area, for a $600 one-bedroom apartment in my area, that's 46 hours of labor. 46.153 and change. So, a week and most of the next Monday. And that's your entire apartment. Not just your dwelling. Not just your land, but all of the amenities, all the benefits and all of that. All of the things. Your oven, your refrigerator, all of that. And if something breaks, you call your landlord and they come fix it. You didn't get that with these literal landlords. In medieval times, something broke around your house, you had to fix it yourself. Stop saying this, people. You sound so freaking stupid when you're saying it. And certainly don't say it like it's this big gotcha thing. I don't know. It's not a gotcha. It's just stupid. Socialists are so stupid, and they're it's getting to the point where it's just the same arguments being recycled over and over again. This one, we beat it down several years ago, showed everyone how stupid they were, and it kind of just laid around for a while not being heard of. And then just now, it seems like here in the last couple of months, I've been getting it a lot. So please, stop it. It's a stupid argument, and it makes you sound stupid. So, thanks so very much for watching. Comments for the Comment God, shares for the Share Throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. All sorts of to get this information out there, because the myth is being spread around and it's absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. So make sure people know the truth about that, about how they're basically lying about what the medieval peasant had to do. Like the only thing he had to do was the work that his lord demanded of him for the privilege of living on his land. Not true. Not true. So please spread this around. And if you like what I do, go to donate.bogosity.tv so I can keep doing it. All sorts of ways to give there. PayPal, cryptocurrency. Become a regular supporter at Patreon and Subscribestar. Get these videos early and ad-free and all sorts of other benefits. So check it out. Thank you so very much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.